Morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on the time you've chosen to have your practice. I am Cassie, if we haven't practiced together before, and I'm really honored to be here to move with you. You are welcome to start in whatever position makes you most comfortable. If you'd like to sit, lay down. If you have any pillows at home, you might use them for your practice to bring some added comfort along the way, but it's not required. And just know that anything I offer you through this practice is always going to be an invitation. I am designing a practice that I think might be helpful, might be useful, but it's really up to you to check in with your own body, see what is helpful today, what is not. There is no need to push past any type of pain if there is some. So I'll try to offer you a few options along the way, and just know that the options are not necessarily meaning that one is better than the other, the harder one is not always going to be more suitable for you. So take what makes sense and what feels okay and what feels right, and maybe sometimes none of the things I offer feel good, and so then you're welcome to change things, modify, bring some support in, take a moment to yourself, regroup. It's okay. So you can maybe start to close down the eyes if you're comfortable. Or you may soften the gaze. We take some time at the beginning here to make this kind of mental, this energetic shift from doing, working. Many of you are serving people, caring for people, whether at home or at work. That is all great, but we're shifting from that kind of way of being into a place where you've dedicated time and space and energy just for yourself. To practice yoga. For your body, for your mind. Even just to give yourself an hour away from your inbox, from your phone. And we get to have this very human experience of breath, of movement, of strength, of release. Also very human to be pulled back where we just were, be pulled back into your day, your work day. And so just know that if, or maybe I should say when that happens throughout the practice, if it does, you can choose to shift back here, knowing that this time and space for yourself is not only deserved, perhaps it's necessary. Just take a few moments here to allow the breath to move in and out of your body. And allow each exhale to soften you slightly more. Maybe softening around the jaw, softening the neck, the shoulders. And sometimes what that softening is really like is a kind of letting go of effort, letting go of the need to hold anything up. We could start to let that softness find our hearts. So I've been doing some studies, as you may know, in yoga therapy, and we've been having a lot of discussions, that yoga is a tool for the removal of suffering, and there's a lot of different ways of understanding what that means. But this is my current favorite way of understanding, is that yoga may help us to have a smoother ride. If we think of our life as a kind of uncarved path, so there's no nice paved smooth path. As you may know, it is bumpy, unpredictable, ever-changing along our journey. Yoga cannot change the path. Yoga cannot change the circumstances in which we live necessarily, but what it can do is make sure that our wagon, our chariot, however you want to understand this maybe type of vehicle that we are in, it gives it strong axles, circular wheels. It gives a lot of different mechanisms that, although the journey may be bumpy, it will give us a more comfortable experience, an experience with less suffering perhaps than we would have if our wheels were not smooth, if our axles falling off. That's going to add extra stress, of course, extra suffering. So if we think of yoga in that way, as a way to make a smoother ride, practically this can look like increasing our range of motion, the mobility in our body, the way that we're able to move. The body is the wagon, is the vessel. So it's allowing us to move better. Maybe it's allowing us to breathe better, which is very deeply connected to our nervous system, the way we truly feel, our thoughts as well. And it's just kind of fine-tuning our experience a little bit. So when we view yoga this way, not as a way to necessarily change ourselves or fix ourselves or live in this kind of perfectness, then we allow for some messiness in our practice. We allow for things to not be perfect, and that is perfectly right. It shouldn't be that we are fixated on achieving any type of posture or intensity even. But how can we move and breathe and think in a way that's providing us a little bit more softness, a little bit more ease, that might be very useful for us as we continue to really walk through the rest of our lives. And so we will practice skills here on our mat that can be directly translated to you off the mat. Yoga asana, our postures, is just one part of 8 of what the yoga practice is, and many of our practices can be drawn with us off the mat. So let's keep this in mind, this smoother ride, this understanding that there doesn't need to be any type of perfection, that our mind might be pulled back and we might bring it back here again and again and again. And that's what we're working with. That is the practice of yoga, and that is wonderful. So that was a lot of words, so maybe just take a couple breaths, see how that landed in your body, see how you feel without, kind of at the baseline here, without changing anything before we've gotten too much into our practice. How are you? There doesn't necessarily need to be a word or a story. Sometimes our experience is much too complex to define truly. Allow it to just be a sense of how you feel, a feeling in your body. And together we'll take a full deep breath in. Imagine that you could expand through the chest, the ribs, and the belly. When you get to the top for a moment, just pause. And then let the breath out nice and slowly if you can. Feel the body melt. When you empty out, pause for a moment. And then we'll fill back up. Let the chest, ribs, belly expand. When you arrive at the top, just hold for a moment. And when you let the breath out, you can do it with a little bit more force this time. Let it go. Hold at the bottom. And then fill back up. All the way to the top of the collarbones. Big breath. One more sip of air in. Pause. This time with a big sigh. Let something go. Beautiful. All right. If you're not already there, let's meet towards the back. And take your time. And then let's cross the right ankle on top of the left knee. Flex the right toes towards your shin. And then send the knee away. Now this might be perfect for you today. This might be enough sensation. Or you might choose to draw that left knee in, potentially interlacing the hands behind the thigh. And it's totally fine if you're lifting the head and shoulders up to grab that interlace. But then see if you can bring everything back down, release it down towards the mat once again. And you have a couple more options from here. You can hold here in stillness. Sometimes it's really nice to have the low back grounded in this way, so you might connect into that space. Or if you'd like, you're welcome to shift a little bit side to side. It's going to change the way you feel the stretch. So you might be really present to notice the sensations, kind of without any judging of them, but just an allowing. And if you choose to move your legs, you might also allow your head to just kind of naturally shift. Beautiful. Take your time. We'll release the left foot back down if it's not already, but bring it nice and wide and then open the arms like wings. Palms can face the sky. Big breath. And as we breathe out, we'll tip the knees over to the right side. Bring the chin to the left. Now right away, check in with your left knee and see if having the right foot on top is causing too much pressure in the knee. For me it is, so I'm going to remove the right foot away from the leg and settle in here. There's a lot of joints in the body that might feel discomfort in our practice, but in a safe way, such as the shoulders or the hips. But generally with the knees, we want to keep them happy. There's not too much muscle around the knees, and so we want to ensure that they stay protected. So you can just have the feet a little wider, and even then if it's too much, you can lift the left knee up a little bit if it's too much pressure to have it sinking down. And then nice and slow, come all the way back up through center. Remove the right foot from the leg if you haven't already. Knees drift up to the sky. And then we'll tip the knees to the left and the chin to the right. And then we'll come back up. The right heel will walk in line with the right hip, and then you can cross now the left ankle on top of the right knee. Flex the toes in towards your shin. You want to keep those toes active the whole time. And then send the left knee away from you. Now you can decide, are you staying right here? Are you drawing the right knee in towards the belly? If you're choosing to interlace your hands, try to take the opposite grip. So the opposite thumb comes on top, and it might feel a little bit awkward. The shoulders can rest down. And you can stay there in stillness, or you're welcome to sway side to side. Beautiful. Take your time. We're going to step the right foot down towards the mat. Bring the right foot to the outer edge of the mat. And then open the arms nice and wide. Take a big breath in. As we breathe out, we'll allow the knees to tip over to the left side. The chin rolls to the right. And find a few moments here. Once again, check in with the right knee. You can always remove the left foot from the leg if there's any pain at all in the knee. Try to soften the jaw. And then left foot comes off of the right knee if it's not already. We'll draw the knees up through center, take a breath in. And as we breathe out, tip the knees to the right, the chin to the left. Beautiful. Knees come back up through center. You can walk them back in line with your hips roughly, and then just let the knees draw in towards each other. They may touch. And if you're comfortable bringing your hands on the body, let's bring right hand to belly, left hand to heart. If not, wherever the arms are comfortable is great. And just take a few moments to try to bring some ease into our breath. So it doesn't necessarily need to be that we take the biggest, deepest breaths, the longest breaths. But maybe what we can do is find a sense of fluidity. Smoothing out any of those parts of the breath that feel a little stuck or rigid or tight, as much as you can, of course. Perhaps already you could start to sense some small shifts in you. Even just a few moments of movement, of presence, of awareness, even if it's imperfect, it has to be imperfect. Still, here we are. Okay. So you can start to bring a little bit of space between your knees now. So we want to have the heels in line with the hips and the knees also in line with the hips. And so just know that sometimes there's a tendency to open the knees a little bit. Try to resist that, imagining you could squeeze at the back between your thighs. And then we'll bring our palms to face down beside the hips. And before we lift the hips, just start to press into the heels. Start to feel that engagement start to light up. And then when you feel ready, if you feel ready, you can keep the hips grounded if you want, or we inhale, pick the hips up, sweep the arms all the way up overhead, palms will face the sky, really press and root down through your feet. And then as we breathe out, nice and slow, we'll start to lower the spine back towards the mat and bring the hands beside the hips. Now, we're going to do that a few more times. If you want to, you can rest with the hips grounded the whole time, or, take little breaks. And see if you can move with your breath. So the full inhale brings you to the top, and then the full exhale brings you back down. Starting to build up a little bit of heat now. The next time you pick the hips up, let's hold there. Really press into all four corners of the feet, and then press into the feet as if you were trying to slide them away. So you might feel now that your quads on the fronts of the thighs start to light up a little bit more. Try to keep the breath flowing with that same fluidity and ease that you created with the hips lowered. And feel everything that's working to support you here. And then see if that doesn't need to be the face. Maybe the jaw could still be in ease even though the rest of the body's working quite hard. Take a big breath in, lift the hips up a little higher if you can. And slow and gentle, roll the spine back to the earth. You can keep your feet right where they are, or if you'd like, you could draw the knees towards the belly and just take a moment to rock yourself side to side. Okay, beautiful. Let's take a big breath in and reach the right arm all the way up over our heads. And then as we breathe out, we'll roll over onto the right side. You might wrap that left arm behind your knees. And notice if you're holding yourself up off of your arm or off of the floor. Unless there's good reason for that, see if it's possible to soften into that support below you. And here's a kind of fun experiment we can try. Try to get up get up to seated without pressing down, without pressing your hand or your foot into the floor. Try to lift up. It's very hard, right? It's not possible. We must press into that support below us in order to rise and lift up. So that's a fun metaphor, but also really useful for our posture. So go ahead and come up when you're ready. And then come to a comfortable seated position. I like to cross the legs. It might be a little different for you, that's fine. And then just kind of sit as you normally would at your desk or wherever you sit normally. For me, not the greatest posture, believe it or not. And then notice if you can try to pull yourself kind of to sit a little taller without pressing down. It's kind of doable, but you might notice that the muscles are working very hard. So we want to practice as much as possible using the skeletal structural support in our body. It's going to give you a little bit less built up tension around the neck and shoulders and probably up through the back as well. So now feel your sitting bones pressing down into the mat, the floor, the block, wherever you are, and then press into that support with the sitting bones, and then lift up through the heart, through the crown of your head, through the shoulders. And just see how different that feels. If you can find a place where the spine is pretty much stacked, what does that allow for your muscles? And what you might find is that structural support allows for a greater softening of the shoulders away from the ears, a softening of the jaw. Just notice if there's any differences in you. Okay. Thanks for playing along. This is was a big breakthrough for me to notice that my sitting tall had to come from pressing down, from rooting down, in order for it to be most efficient for the body. And this is something you can bring into your daily life with you, especially sitting, working on computers and stuff. You might find your neck draws forward. If you're anything like me, you end up like hunched over. And just take those little moments to check in and see if you can once again root down, find that structural support, and try to work from there if you can. And just notice if you have any differences in the tension that you may or may not build up. Maybe, maybe not. I can't say it's for sure, but you can try it out. Okay, let's take a big breath in and reach our arms all the way up towards the sky. Take a big, big breath. And as we exhale, we're going to twist to the right. So bring the right fingertips behind you, left hand to the right knee. And then come back up through center. We'll exhale over to the left. Inhale through center. And to the right. Go one more time to the left, and then we're going to pause over to the right side. All right, so we're coming to the right. The right fingertips come behind you. You can bring the left hand wherever you can reach on the thigh or the knee. Try to sit up nice and tall, lengthening the spine. And then on the exhale, you might be able to draw that right shoulder back, maybe even draw the gaze over to the right shoulder. So you're welcome to stay here, or if you want to, you can work a little bit with that left side of the neck and kind of drop the right ear towards the right shoulder. And then from there, you could very slowly start to draw the chin in towards the chest. And then bring the ear back to the shoulder. And just go ahead like that, forwards and back, as long as it feels okay. And it might feel a little bit weird, but see if you can try to let the mouth open so the jaw can really relax. Okay, and then bring the head back through center. So a nice tall neck. Take a big breath in. Keep the arms as they are. See if you can just rotate the chin towards the left, any amount. It might be very small. And then see if it feels okay to drop the left ear to the left shoulder and just take a few breaths in stillness there. Again, you might open the mouth and soften the jaw. And find that easy breath. Beautiful. Very slowly, gently bring the neck back through neutral. Inhale to reach both arms to the sky. And then as we exhale, we'll twist over towards the left. So those left fingertips are behind you in kind of like a little tent. The right hand is on the top of the right knee. You can sit tall, so press into that support below you, lengthening the spine. And then as we exhale, we might press into that right hand, draw the left shoulder back, draw the gaze over the left shoulder. All right, so you're welcome to stay here, or you can bring that left ear towards the left shoulder. And then slow and gentle, you could shift the chin down towards the chest, and then bring the left ear back up to the shoulder. So go very slowly. The side might be a little different, so be mindful. You might allow that mouth to open, the jaw to soften. Beautiful. All right, take your time to bring your neck back up through neutral so the crown of the head reaches back up. And then take a breath in, sit tall. As we exhale, maybe now we can tip the right ear towards the right shoulder, and it does not need to be a lot, so see what feels okay. And take a few moments there with your easy breath and stillness. With that soft, fluid breath. Beautiful, all right. Nice and slowly bring the neck back on top of the spine. Reach the arms up towards the sky. And then as you breathe out, come down to hands and knees in your table pose. So the wrists under the shoulders, knees can be under the hips are a little bit wider, and we're going to take a kind of different variation of our cat-cow than we normally do. Sort of draw the ribs over towards the left side, and then lower the belly down. And imagine you could slide your belly across the floor, bring the belly to the right. And then we're going to draw the chin towards the chest, press the spine up towards the sky. Imagine sliding the back along the ceiling over to the left, and then drop the belly again. And then you can just continue like that. You can kind of smooth it out, so it doesn't really need to be boxy. Maybe you could imagine you're kind of making a circular shape. And you might go fast or slow, maybe don't go too fast. Be able to check in and make sure everything's all right. And you might be getting your neck and your head involved. So on the part where your belly is lowered, you might lift the gaze up. And then when you draw the belly in, you might draw the chin towards the chest. And try not to think too much about it. Really just about loosening things up here through the spine. And then you can start to move in the opposite direction. Awesome. You can finish up. Come back through that neutral spine. Take your time. We're going to tuck our toes under. Sit the hips back to the heels. So right away there's going to be some discomfort probably. It's a big stretch for the bottoms of the feet. So take your time. If you need a break, you just pick the hips up and come back down if and when you're ready. If it's a big no from the feet today, you can untuck them or sit cross-legged or however you can sit. Let's reach the arms all the way up towards the sky. Big breath in. And then on the exhale, see if you can interlace the hands behind your back. Draw the shoulder blades together, lift the heart open, and bring the knuckles down. So naturally the heart lifts. If that's not doable for you to interlace the hands in that way, you can also hold for opposite elbows. Beautiful. Take a big breath in. On the exhale, bring the elbows or the knuckles a little lower. And then we'll inhale to bring the arms back up. Untuck the toes, tap the tops of the feet into the mat, hands down. And then you can start to make some circles with your ankles rolling through and then move in the opposite direction. Okay, so as long as the ankles are going to allow you, we're going to try it out. Bring the tops of the feet down now and sit back towards the heels again. And maybe already you feel a big stretch in the tops of the feet. So if that's the case for you, you can stay here. And again, feel free to take breaks by shifting forward. If it's feeling okay so far, bring the hands beside your hips. Draw the eye of the elbow forward. And you might very slightly lean back. You may or may not get an actual lift in the knees. Doesn't really matter. What we're looking for is that kind of release in the front of the ankle or kind of in the top of the foot. Now, if you're here, try to draw the heart forward. Maybe look up. And then we'll bring the knees back down nice and slowly when you're ready, if they're not already there. Beautiful. Let's come back through our table, tuck the toes under. This time, send the hips all the way up and back, downward dog. So the ankles are about hips distance. The wrists are about shoulder distance. And you can let the head hang nice and heavy. And then start to pedal the feet a little bit side to side. You can sway the hips, move the head around. Beautiful. All right. From here, let's draw our gaze towards our belly button. Your knees can be super bent, a little bent, whatever you like. And then we're going to draw the chest forward through our high plank. And for me, usually I need to step the toes back a bit, so you can do that if you need to. And then lift the gaze once you arrive to your plank. Bend the knees and slide the hips up and back, only dropping the gaze kind of when you need to when you arrive back to that downward dog. Okay, from here, gaze into the belly button, roll forward, same thing. Lift the gaze once you arrive, try to smooth it out, bend the knees, slide the hips up and back. Might be a lot of crackles happening through the shoulders, through the spine, and that's fine. Gaze to belly button, you roll forward, lift the gaze, bend the knees, slide the hips back. Now continue a couple more times just like that. If it's too much for your lower back or for your spine, you're welcome to not bend the knees when you come back. So that allows for kind of wavy spine, but you're welcome to just kind of shift between plank and downward dog if you prefer. Kind of like this. All right. Let's meet with the hips lifted, downward dog. Walk the big toes a little bit closer in now. And then we'll draw the right heel up towards the sky, any amount. Now we bend that top knee and open up the hip. Imagine you could kick the left hip with your right heel. The knee is lifted to the sky. Take a big deep breath in. As we breathe out, we'll draw the knee towards the nose. Step the right foot between the hands. The foot might need help to get there, so take your time. And then lower that back knee down. Press the left hand into the mat. Allow the right arm to reach up for this easy twist variation. Beautiful. Now we'll start to lengthen out that right leg. So the hips draw back. Of course, you can always keep a bend in the knee. Beautiful, big breath. And as we exhale, let's start to sink through the right shoulder. Bring the right fingertips really wide, probably even off your yoga mat if possible. And then maybe the left fingertips can come to meet it, so both hands are across the right leg. The right knee can be bent. Soften the belly to the thigh. Try to bring the chin towards the chest and see how we're doing there. Notice if your breath could bring softness anywhere. And then bend your front knee even more. So now the foot is really planting down. If possible, try to keep both hands on the outside of the knee. And then bend that left elbow. Press through your feet for stability. We're going to bring the palms together. So the right elbow can lift up towards the sky. Left elbow is hooked on the outside of the right knee. Now press into the hands. Maybe look up towards the sky. All right. Now, if you aren't able to get there that way, you can start with hands at heart center and then twist over towards the left. Now, for this next part, we're going to tuck our back toes, lift the back knee. If you want to, you can bring the hands down for support first, or you can try out your balance. Beautiful. Now let's gaze down towards that front right foot. Start to shift weight forward into that foot. So you might feel yourself come onto those back tippy toes, and then step the left foot beside the right. Keep the hips low as if you're sitting back into a chair. Reach the arms up, open the heart through your chair pose. And then as we exhale, bring the left arm straight back, right arm stays forward, opening ourselves into a twist onto the left side. Beautiful. Come all the way back through center, arms reach, and then fold your upper body into the legs. Soften your head down. Now from here, we'll take a big breath in, lengthen the spine, draw the gaze forward. And then as you exhale, rebend the knees, melt the head towards the earth. Now a couple options from here. So bend your knees lots, especially if you're feeling any pain in the back of the legs. We're in our forward fold, we're not necessarily working for a hamstring stretch all the time, but also looking for that softening of the upper body. Now, you can hold opposite elbows in front of your chest as a kind of way of weighting the upper body down. Or if you'd like, you can interlace the hands at your lower back. Let's do the opposite grip this time. So the opposite thumb is on top than you normally do. And then draw the shoulder blades together. See if you might be able to create some small distance between the hands of the low back, even if it's just a little bit. And then soften your head down towards the earth. And take a few moments right here. Remember, if this is too much, we have hands holding opposite elbows in front of the chest. Nothing wrong with that. That's a really nice way to weight the upper body forward and down. Now, if you have that hands interlaced at your lower back, you can release that. We'll all lift halfway, hands to shins, lengthen out the spine. And then as we exhale, bend the knees, melt the belly to the thighs, bring the palms to the mat. Big steps back through our high plank. Now soften your knees, gaze forward, shift the hips all the way up and back, downward dog, sinking the head. Let's take a moment just to pedal the feet side to side. And then when you're ready, you can walk the big toes a little bit closer in. The left heel will reach all the way up towards the sky. It doesn't need to be a lot, so maybe it's somewhere here, that's all right. We'll bend that top knee and open up the hip. Imagine you could kick the right hip with your heel and then you could reach up towards the sky. Head is still nice and heavy. Breath is still moving. Now let's draw the left knee in towards our chest. Bring weight to the palms, come onto your back tippy toes, step the foot through and help it if it gets stuck. I'll just switch sides here for a moment, and then let's lower that back knee down. The left arm is going to spin up towards the sky, opening the chest towards the left side, and you can lift the gaze here. Find your breath and see if you can find that sense of ease, even if the breath is moving a little quicker. Now start to lengthen out that front leg, drawing the hips back a little bit. Even if the knee stays bent, mine is always a little bent for the most part. And then left fingertips can come all the way wide off of the mat, and then the right fingertips can follow. You might need to bend the knee slightly more to do this. And then soften the belly towards your thigh, the chin towards your chest. And take a few of those smooth breaths here, even if this is an uncomfortable shape. Perhaps the breath can still find ease. And then let's bend into that front knee, shift forward. Try to hook the right elbow outside the left knee, and then stack the palms. Press into your feet for stability, and then press into your palms. Maybe we can look towards the sky or just a little bit higher up. So check in with yourself. Do you need to bring the hands down to come up? If so, go ahead. Or you can tuck the back toes and lift the knee from there, keeping the hands as they are. All right. So let's look down towards that front left foot. Let's start to shift weight into that foot. So the back foot is really light, and then you can slide the right foot forward, step it beside the left, keep the hips low. We'll open the arms all the way up towards the sky, and then on the exhale, rotate the chest towards the right, right arm back, left arm forward. Beautiful. Bring the arms back through center, take a big breath, and as we exhale, we'll fold in towards the legs. Lower the head, soften the knees. Let's take a big breath in, lift halfway. And maybe one of those big sighs as you breathe out. Now you can hold for opposite elbows, or you could interlace the hands behind the back. And if you wanted to play around here, you could see how it feels to lengthen one leg at a time, just kind of shifting side to side. So one knee will bend a little more, one leg will straighten a little more. And if that's feeling good for you, let's pause for a moment with the right leg straight-ish, head heavy. And then go ahead over to the other side. All right, bring the chest back through center, knees soft, bring the fingertips down towards the mat. Walk the feet a little bit wider than your hips and let the toes turn open. Now we're gonna sit the hips low as we can as we breathe out and lift the heart up. Now you might not be able to lower the hips all the way, that's okay. Bring the weight back into your fingertips, lower the head, pick the hips up. So we're gonna work into it over time. Continue just like that, hips low, heart lifts, and then fold right back in. Keep going just like that. Maybe even drawing the gaze up as you come down with the hips. And then next time we lower the hips, let's see if we can stay there. If you do have a pillow nearby, you're welcome to bring that pillow, or if you have a yoga block, underneath your hips for some support. We'll bring our elbows inside the knees, And many of us, the heels are not going to want to lower down. That's all right. You can start to think of drawing weight down through the heels though. And sometimes it helps to bring a bit of space between the heels or turning the toes open a bit more. And then we're kind of drawing the elbows into the inner knees, partly to help us sit up nice and tall. Big breaths. Good couple moments right here. Sorry, just checking the time. All right, from here, you can bring your hands down for support and just start to walk yourself back. So you can bring your bum down. All right. You might have needed to bring the hands behind you, so take whatever you need to come down. And then let's bring our hands behind the thighs. Start to lean back with your chest and see if you can float the toes through your boat pose. Now you can keep your hands right where they are, or you can reach them forward. Let's take a big deep breath in. And on the exhale, come to hover over the mat. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale to lower. Inhale, lift back up. One more time, lower to low boat. This time, hold. Roll over to your right bum, reach the arms to the left, and then come back through center. Lean left, arms right. Come back through center. Come all the way up, boat pose. I know that was a lot. Step the feet down. Bring the hands to the tops of the shins. Lengthen the spine towards the sky. Breathe in. As we breathe out, the belly to the thighs, the chin to the chest. Round through the upper spine in any amount that feels good. You can stay right here, or it can be really nice to hold the opposite elbows underneath the legs if that's a possibility for you. And take a few big breaths or smooth breaths. And letting go of some of that effort. The mind wanders. That's okay. We are meant to have thoughts. But you might notice that you have choices, that you're able to come back here, to your breath, to your body, for a little bit longer, if you want to. Very slowly we'll come out of this, so be very careful, gentle with your spine. We'll bring the hands on top of the knees. Start to press into the hands to draw the shoulders back on top of the hips, and then from there we can start to lift the heart, roll the shoulders back, and lift the gaze. And you might just pause here for a moment. There might be a lot of sensations and need some time to settle. And when you're ready, we'll draw the soles of the feet together this time, and the knees nice and wide. So you can keep the spine nice and tall. Remember that rooting down to help us lift up, as my teacher Anne calls it, yielding. So pressing into that support to lift, take a big breath. And then on the exhale, keep the spine long and start to roll the heart forward. Now you might keep the spine pretty straight, and you can bring the hands down wherever you're comfortable. This isn't necessarily about bringing the chest down a lot. We're looking to get into the hips here for this moment anyways. But if you really like that sensation of rounding the spine and you want to explore it again, feel free to draw the chin in. But I'll leave that as optional since we just did a pretty intense moment of that. So feel free to choose where it feels comfortable. That might even mean sitting up fully straight. It's going to be a little different, and it's normal as well if your knees are lifted, so just know that. There's no need to press them down or anything like that. And you might start to find that soft breath again. Notice if you can soften the jaw, maybe even if you let the mouth open a little. And then when you're ready, you can start to walk the hands back into the body and lengthen up once again. Beautiful. Let's draw the knees together. If you want to grab any water or anything like that before you come onto the back, feel free. Otherwise, we'll meet down on the back. I will invite us to meet with our knees towards the belly. And you can see what feels nice here. Do you like to keep the spine grounded, holding in stillness? Or would you like to rock and sway side to side? Maybe wrapping the arms behind the knees. Might feel nice to let the knees widen. So come out towards the shoulders. You can move from there if you want. Maybe even sending the soles of the feet to the sky for your full happy baby if you wish. Letting the shoulders soften down. Let's release those feet, if you had them lifted. We'll draw the knees towards each other, open the arms like wings, take a big deep breath. And as we breathe out, we can tip the knees over to the right, let the chin roll over to the left. You can stay right there, or you can try lengthening through that left top leg and then just holding wherever you're able to along the leg. And it doesn't need to be perfectly straight, of course, just an option. Jaw softens. Left shoulder maybe softening a little heavier towards the earth. And let's rebend that top knee. Come back through center with the knees, take a breath. And as we exhale, when you're ready, tip to the left this time. So knees can stack, you can draw the chin towards the right, and then you have that option of lengthening the top leg, holding wherever you can on the leg, the ankle, the foot. And finding a sense of easing in. And then you can come back through center, rebend the knees, take your time. We'll set up now for our final resting posture. So feel free to spread out, take up some space with the arms and legs if you'd like. And you are also welcome to use your pillow here if you'd like, under your head, under your hips, maybe under your knees, anywhere that would give you some more support or some more comfort is perfect. And then we start this process of really truly letting go into the ground, the earth, that support that we have always beneath us. And we get to enjoy some time and space with nothing to do and nowhere to go. And I imagine that might be rare. This true ability to guilt-free, expectation, judgment-free, just be. As you familiarize yourself with this level of softness, you might feel the body unwinding, unraveling, releasing down. And it might be kind of like dominoes, where softness in one area just kind of allows for this chain of release through the body. As you lay here and allow your body to rest, I'll read to you from Bianca's Versino. When you feel like giving up, remember that your left lung is smaller than your right lung, simply to make room for the heart you hold within your chest. At your most primal level, your heart was favored, it took precedence. It will never be incapable of growing. It will never cease to hold the whole damn world within it. So do not try to stop it. Remember that you use 200 million cells to take one step forward. Remember that you shed your tired skin every 27 days. You were not made to hold your past within you. You were not made to carry it all on your back. Remember that your tongue is the strongest muscle in your body. You are made to speak. So speak loudly and honestly about what you feel. Speak about your story. Share it with the world. Remember that the carbon in your body is the same carbon that courses through this earth, that makes up mountains. Let this remind you that you can stand alone and you can stand tall. For just like Everest, just like Fuji, you are a force to be reckoned with. Remember that the bones within your body are as strong as granite. You are never broken. You are never weak. When you feel like you couldn't possibly bear the weight of heartbreak, of growth, remember that your foundations are stronger than concrete. You are made to endure. You are made to withstand. You are made to survive. Every single part of you, every single perceived flaw, and every single aspect of who you are was made with the intention of defying the odds. You were bred from tough, celestial pieces of this world, and therefore, it will never be able to defeat you. As we continue our bumpy, messy journeys through this world, through this life that we are still always trying to understand, that your yoga practice can be a way of smoothing your ride. And it doesn't need to end when you leave this hour together. You can bring with you all the tools that you learn and cultivate here, the strength, the surrender, the breath, the softness, the awareness, the mindfulness, the compassion, and so much more that you're cultivating here. And that is the reason we're here, not to achieve any posture. So let's take a moment before we depart each other to check back in with how we feel. And give yourself a big thank you. Feel free to wrap your arms around yourself in a hug and just thank yourself for carving this time out of your day to care for yourself, knowing it is potentially necessary for you right now, and also that it is going to help you to better communicate with and serve the people around you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, for showing up. It's always an honor to practice with you, even in this way. So thank you again. Shanti is peace. We're wishing you peace. Not sure who we are, but I am wishing you peace. All right.